Hello. Ophiuchus is not a bona fide zodiac sign, and I'll tell you why. You have two different types of astrology, sidereal and tropical. Sidereal astrology is, to my knowledge, it hasn't been around as long as tropical astrology. Tropical astrology is what you're most familiar with. It's what you see in the newspapers, the horoscopes and all that. And tropical astrology, the zodiac signs are based on the constellations, but they are not fixed on them. They are based on the constellations, but not fixed on them. So, what they are fixed on, the zodiac signs are fixed on the seasons. Aries begins the spring equinox, Cancer begins the summer solstice, and the opposite of Aries, Libra, begins the autumn equinox. Opposite of Cancer, which is Capricorn, begins the winter solstice. Hopefully you followed that. So the signs don't change, not in tropical astrology anyway. In sidereal astrology, the constellations appear to change. They follow what's called the path of the ecliptic, and the ecliptic is the apparent, basically, essentially, I don't know if it's specifically defined as such, but the ecliptic is the apparent path that the sun makes around the Earth. Even though the Earth orbits the sun, if you were to draw, a little path that the sun makes around the Earth, that would kind of more or less be the ecliptic, and that's what, back in Ptolemy's age, that's when the constellations were, that's when, what am I trying to say? They were aligned. But because we have what's called a precession, this means that while the Earth is spinning on its axis, which is tilted, the axis itself has a rotation. Okay, the Earth, is spinning around its axis and it's rotating around or orbiting the sun. The precession, so it's wobbling. So 3,000 years ago, or however many millennia, I think it was about 3,000 years ago, let's say that the Earth's axis is over here, so the equator is kind of like this, makes a 90 perpendicular sort of angle, and so the ecliptic is kind of like this, not about 23 degrees off, and so when when the precession, it takes 26,000 years for the Earth to complete one precession, and so, in 13,000 years, approximately, it'll be over here. So it moved a little bit. So the path of the ecliptic, the constellations don't quite align with the path of the ecliptic anymore. That's the best way I can explain it. It's kind of difficult, but, I kind of stuttered over myself, but that's basically it. So in sidereal astrology, I guess Ophiuchus is a sign. It's more of a constellation than it is a sign, because it never really followed the path of the ecliptic. It's a constellation that kind of is beneath Scorpio and Sagittarius, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been Capricorn. And the other thing about Ophiuchus is that the personality traits seem kind of bogus. I have yet to find a description of this personality where, it seems like a genuine, an interesting archetype. Most of, the sun signs of astrology have, good traits and bad traits. Ophiuchus seems to only have good traits, highly wise, and very weird specific ones like wearing plaid pants. If you are Ophiuchus, you have a tendency to wear plaid pants. So yeah, I wish I could give a link where I found that, but I don't know. So, also, if you do prefer sidereal astrology, and you prefer to include Ophiuchus for whatever reason, that's fine. If you do, Ophiuchus isn't actually applicable, unless you were born after 2009. That's when it starts to, I guess, converge on the path of the ecliptic, and that's, when it, joins the path of the zodiac, I guess, kind of. But for those who still follow Western astrology, your sign has not changed, and Ophiuchus is not technically a bona fide zodiac sign. And that's hopefully a good explanation as to why. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I don't believe in it, and blah, 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 or it's not applicable, but they can't really tell you astronomically why that's so. Hope you enjoyed my video. Thanks for watching.